Hello, my name is Tom. Welcome to the Heavy Hole.
My name is Big Will, a.k.a. Uncle Buck. Also welcome to the Heavy Hole.
My name is Justin. I'm on the Heavy Hole. Thirsty with you boys. How you guys doing?
I'm sick, but not in the physical way, in the way that I'm feeling with my Heavy Hole dudes. How you doing?
Fuck, skipping
Doing
beats.
good.
That's
I'm full of cliffhangers today.
It's nice doing the online socializing with a goal. Because when you kind of jump into a Zoom meeting and no one has anything to say, man, that gets old quick.
Oh my god. Yeah. I was just thinking that, man. It's just like, yeah, what do you? Oh, you drinking that drink? That's cool. Me too. Oh, the TV's on in the background. Yeah, nice. I'm gonna go be by myself again.
I got a good one about that. Right off the bat, it's 4:20. I got it. Like, this is like perfect, like, segue flex. I'm doing it all in the first minute here. I'm ready to go. Keith Harris, drummer extraordinaire of Afterbirth, also of Reeking Aura, supergroup, so to speak. We dropped our EP today on Bandcamp, Reeking Aura, Beneath the Canopy of Compost. 3 songs produced by Colin Marston, art by John Zig. Shout out to Ryan Lipinski of Unearthly Trance on guitar. Rick Terrell and Tom from Buckshot Facelift filling out my background here. I got the whole crew with me. So go look for that Reeking Aura EP. But you're talking about, I'm on point here. We had this big group Skype. We got all 6 of us Skyped in the other night. It was amazing. It was a good time. Shout out to Keith Harris for blasting reggae music the entire time while everyone's trying to talk, man. It was great. I felt like I was the more technological person than him for once. You know what I mean? I'm usually out. I'm not the tech savvy guy, man. But yeah, so that was good, man. But yeah. So I got I dropped the promo on the Reeking Aura. I'm with the technology. I got a relevant story. How are you guys doing?
Oh, that's great. Doing pretty good. Well, not much has changed. Same old garbage going on over here. What can I say? I showered today. I showered actually about a half hour ago. So coming in clean to see my friends. I want to be presentable. That's the big news, man. Oh, again, cleaning my garage. Check it out.
Okay.
My garage is a huge mess. I have about 3 years worth of pile up going on in there, and it looks like a 2-car garage. It's pretty nice. Just shit piling up. I have tools like one of my dad's best friends passed away a couple of years ago, and he didn't have anybody to pass his tools on to. So we went over there and we took everything he had. So I got like 3 chop saws, like 4 jigsaws. I counted out I have 6 hammers. 6 of the same hammer. You don't need you just need one really. Like as far as my carpentry skills go. So I've been picking these nice days out and filling up my driveway with taking everything out of the garage and at the same time battling these cave crickets that are in there. They're the size of like,
scary.
I don't know, man, they're big, like biggest one in there, like 4 inches in diameter or something like that. So going to war, but it's all so I can build my friends some nice coffee tables, right? Once I get that space. Man, it's exciting.
R.I.P. to your father's friend. I'm sorry to hear that. And I know what it is to be bequeathed tools in life. We have a garage, and there's so many different types of tools in there, assortments of things through the family. And do you have a Segway in your garage with all these chop saws? Because you segged me right up. I spent the afternoon building furniture for my feral cat. I'm that guy now at 40 years old, no kids, no wife, but I'm building furniture for the cat. It is what it is. 4 death metal bands now. Okay. Do my thing. But it's little crafty shelving things that go behind the bookshelf for the cat to look out the window and things of that nature, man. And I'm using the tools in the garage, doing all that sort of thing. So you revved up the segue for me right there, man. I feel like in our choreographed like segue dance, we left Tom behind, man. Tom, how you doing, bro?
Don't worry, Will. I don't feel very left behind. I don't have much to offer this.
All right.
Been doing roast mortem, doing this podcast. Work came to a grinding halt because my biggest client is dealing with some shit. And now I'm here. And we're doing our first YouTube video, all kinds of stuff. So now you can really see what we look like when we're alone.
Mm-hmm.
I am psyched. I am happy to be here, but I don't have much to say.
All right, man. I'm happy to be here too, man. It's good to see you guys, man. Our once a week internet technology session. This is amazing to me. I feel like I'm in Blade Runner or something right now. Logan's Run going on, and Big Jagger.
So with tonight's episode, we're just doing. This is a bonus episode. We're doing a Q&A, and it's not going to be that long because we are actually doing another episode tonight. So we got a lot to take care of. So I guess, without further ado, unless you wanted to mention something else, Will.
Well, we got Reeking Aura, building the furniture for the cat.
Yeah.
Got stocked up, not hoarding, left plenty of cases for other cat lovers, but taking care of the guy. Got my 9 lives from Family Dollar of Huntington Station. Shout out to Family Dollar of Huntington Station.
Dude, who's better than your cat right now, man? Cat's living large.
Huntington Station, the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak in Huntington right now. Yeah, true story, man. I'm not even making a joke out of it, man.
I know.
That's how we're living out here, man. But yeah, I guess we covered it all, man. That's all that's going on. So I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and I really want to just bust into the questions when you guys are ready, man.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so I'll read the questions, and then we will answer appropriately. Appropriately, allegedly. We might not get to all of them, but I think first we'll start out with some of the Facebook questions. So this one is for Will from Jim Forster, our buddy who runs the, what is it, the Extreme Metal meme page?
Extreme Metal memes demand extreme posting, I believe, and we did do an interview with him. Controversial page, controversial discussion. Yeah. So shout out to Jim. What was the question?
Yeah, good kid, just having fun, but he does have a serious question here. So, Will, how'd you get into Afterbirth? Did Cody and all reach out to you, or did you reach out to them? And were you nervous when you got the position, since Afterbirth is such a classic and genre-defying band with a reputation in the old school underground?
I did not reach out to them at all. Everyone, people maybe who follow this show know the story that I got into Afterbirth's original demo back in the day. Huge influence on me and the whole thing. And then they got in touch with me several years after they had been playing as an instrumental band with no vocalist. And they asked if I would contribute vocals to the full-length album that had already been recorded that had no vocals on it. And of course, I jumped at the opportunity, and of course, I was very nervous and took it very seriously to represent that legacy, because Matt Duncan was one of the huge influences. I'd say him, Auntie Bowman from Demolich, and Matty Wave from Disgorge, California, were like the three when I was in high school that I was really thinking about if I was trying to do vocals. Not to say I sound like them or anything, but that's what I was aspiring to be like. So yeah, I took it hugely serious. And if you listen to the Afterbirth albums, I think I just try to do everything at a lower pitch, and try to make it as brutal as possible to live up to the legacy of those original Afterbirth recordings as best I can. And I'm hugely self-critical with that band. I'm insanely self-critical with that band. Sometimes it's hard for me to listen to it back. I practice as much as I can. I take it very seriously, and luckily those three guys are really laid back, really professional, and they welcomed me into the fold. It was a very touch and go process. At first, it wasn't like, we need a singer, you want the spot. It was more like, we have some material. Would you, we'll send it to you, and we'll take it as it goes. If we like what you do, maybe we'll put it on the album, and we can put out this album finally. And they didn't, and there was not even any talk at that point of me being the singer. It was just kind of like me coming in as a session vocalist on an album type of thing. And it was extremely touch and go, and it happened as it happened. And I think it's been one of the best experiences for me in music. And I take it very seriously. It's like an honor to me, 100%. That's it.
Well, I love that new Afterbirth record, man, as well as the old stuff. But that new one is something special, and I know a lot of people are spinning that right now. And just great job, just want to say. Everybody,
thanks. We're getting a lot of positive feedback on that, and it's like I said, I can't really say as much. It's an honor just to be part of that project, and it's turned into like a real natural flow working with those guys, man. So rest in peace to Matt Duncan of Afterbirth, and all I can do is just try to be as respectful of that legacy as I can with the band, and that's why when you hear it, sometimes it's like the most, so to speak, ignorant, brutal element of the band, even today, because I'm just trying to uphold that.
Amen. All right, cool. So next question. Next question is from Brady Cornett, who just became a Patreone today.
Thanks,
Yeah, Brady from Ovary Rot, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you were just talking to Ovary Rot recently, right? So I guess that is
Yeah.
right. So, from Brady, for all three of you, where would you all individually like to see metal scene go? See the metal scene go in the future, concerning any and every angle in regards to the scene.
Do you want to take that first?
Yeah, Justin, why don't you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just have like a few bullet points of just things that I've noticed. One thing I would love to happen, and I know that bands do this, and it's not exactly a rare thing, but I would love to return to the golden age of music videos, and have bands really put thought into not necessarily like singles and shit like what they're going to push, but like producing a music video, especially since technology now is you could do a pretty damn high quality video on your phone, and everybody's got a phone pretty much. But just seeing bands like be a little bit more creative with the media that they're putting out there, I would love to see just, in coordination with an EP release or a single release, or anything like that, bands just drop videos. And if you feel strongly about every song on your record, man, put a video out for every song on your record. I would love to see like a more visual aspect come into death metal, and that kind of goes all like even with merch as well. Like diversify your merch table. It's not all black T-shirts. Give me a fucking towel, give me a sweatband, give me a bandana, give me a whatever. Elbow pads. I don't know. Just think outside the box a little bit. But I'd love seeing those music videos, and I'd love to have bands think cinematically about their music as well. That's one point I was kind of mulling over.
Cool. Yeah, I in a similar vein, I was thinking something I would really like to see is more bands becoming more stylistic and experimental with their mixing and recording process. It seems to have taken with this old school death metal thing, and I don't know. The sounds are just a little too in the box for me, and this has been happening for the last 10 years almost. Like, the last Decrepit Birth album, I really liked it, but it sounded pretty plastic, and I wouldn't say that band's fault. It's just kind of what our ears are used to, and they're also on a bigger label. But when you're like a newer band trying to break through, why not experiment a little bit more with how you're recording shit and mix elements of the newer stuff and the older stuff? Like, one band that comes to mind is two bands, Car Bomb and Frontierer.
Oh,
now,
yeah, man.
Both of those bands aren't like my exact cup of tea, but the attention to detail that they put into it is into the recordings is really something. So I just like to see some more experimenting.
Yeah, because you can tell those mixes are modern, right? But it's not like it's not a cookie cutter type thing. It's not something that you would hear normally, or at least in the what I'm trying to say. It's not like a cliche or anything like that. It's
right.
It's a little nuanced difference in those.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that was just thought of a little bit more in general, and I understand people who don't, because that's not really their thing. But when every band is kind of having the same old school cavernous mix, and it's like, I like the songs and all, and I like the sound, but just things I haven't heard in a while. Like, make a record sound like it was it came out with when a Haunting Curse came out, like, just like old school Goat Whore. Like, I haven't heard a new thing sound like that in a while, so why not take that approach? That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, or even like, we've had this super computerized sound, and then the recoil from that being this OSDM traditional-ish kind of sound. Maybe somewhere in the middle, like that, the analog and the digital kind of fucking get together and make something nice. Take the best parts from everything.
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
But take chances. I think taking chances across the board is super important and set yourself apart.
Yeah, I can hear what you guys, with that perspective. I think, Justin, I definitely hear you on the more visual end, but I would like to see bands experiment more. I think gore, anti-religion or anti-spirituality of any kind, occultism, politics, space, futurism, robots. I'm calling a couple of my own concepts out here. A lot of that stuff is done. It's done to death. We're at a saturation point. And that's kind of where my thing is. You want to ask me from the heart, 100%, like where as a fan, as someone who loves death metal, where I want to see it go. I want to see it get less popular. I want to see it get how it got in the late 90s when everyone was shitting on it and acting like it was total garbage. And everyone was like, oh, death metal's going away. Wah, poor death metal. We literally, Adam Rotella has told me, and he'll back it up. He has a story one time of running into a bunch of fellow teenage 20-year-old metalheads or so in the late 90s in Huntington and complaining that death metal was going away. And they were like, oh, death metal. I've always thought of that, man. And I want to see it get back to that point where it's not popular anymore. Because it's way too saturated right now, and it's become a thing where it's at this huge saturation point, and it is what it is, man. I would love to see death metal go a little bit back more underground, but at the same point, you can't put the toothpaste back in the container, right? So I think it's just a point where people move on to something. Maybe people realize that there was like other waves of heavy metal in the 90s. So I don't know what it's going to go to next, but I would love to see death metal get a little bit less hype and bubble down a little bit back down to where I've seen it before, man.
Yeah, now that I feel like you've got serious nostalgia talking, so that's okay. I mean,
and also you could make the point that nostalgia, but you could make the point that a lot of the serious innovation happens during the downturn. If you look at the late 90s, how many episodes have we talked about the United Guttural movement, the American Brutal movement, the mix? That's where you get a lot of that deathcore and metalcore from. That's, so
I would love to see
I would love to see where it goes, where it's boiled down a little bit more,
Yeah, I feel you. We're kind of reaching this breaking point with a lot of these OSDM bands and the like, the ones that are so popular. And when it gets oversaturated like that, it's kind of a natural movement of the scene. You know what I mean? Something will happen, like as it's happened in the past. But having been through it many times before, like you have, will like get a little antsy for it. It's like you could see it coming on the horizon. You know what I mean?
I'm not trying to say that to hate on anybody.
No. Yeah, I don't mean that.
I don't think it doesn't.
Yeah, it's like you have the foresight now. From being a seasoned vet, man, a grizzled vet.
I've been listening to death metal a couple of years, but that's all I'm saying, man. I would definitely like to see the wave crest yet again. That's all I'm saying. Not hating on anybody.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, man. All these death metal bands need to listen to more Rat, and then like we'll see what comes out of it. Probably that new genre will come out of the cellar, if you know what I mean.
Work on your riffs, like you're always saying.
All right, guys, let's move along here. So Brady asked 3 questions. I'm only going to ask the first 2 because the third one is we're going to talk about that on another episode.
We got you on.
Not blowing up spots. So top 3 bands a piece that you feel didn't get the credit they truly deserved and why. So let's make this quick because this could be a whole episode.
I don't know.
Maybe we can revisit this at some point because
I got my list. I wrote it out. I cheated. And I try to give this all the credit, like a lot on the podcast. So where I'm going. Old Cataclysm, particularly with Sylvain Hout singing and Nick Miller playing drums. That's all I'm going to say about it. You can look it up. Number 2, Disharmonic Orchestra from Sweden. in this era of the HM2 worship and the Swedish death metal worship and all that, people checking out Entombed and Dismember, hopefully, and all those bands. You got to look at Disharmonic Orchestra for the progressive, eccentric, oddball, weirdo masters of that scene. And also, I would say Dripping from New Jersey. Dripping from New Jersey does not get enough credit. I kind of lumped them in with like the earlier slam movement, and all that. I mean, they did a lot of stuff now. Like slam has this kind of silly connotation now, I think, in a lot of ways. But Dripping was like, again, a very experimental kind of progressive band. So New Jersey, but I guess coming from Long Island, New York, maybe it's a similar perception of things, similar attitude. Man, I just really love Dripping, and I don't think they get the credit, especially in this day and age where people are doing all this slam stuff. So yeah, that's what I would say. I would say Dripping, New Jersey, Disharmonic Orchestra, and the Cataclysm lineup with Sylvain on vocals and Nick Miller on drums.
Nice. I'll give Dripping all the credit for like being in the top 5 my favorite band names ever. Dripping is one of the sickest names. Oh.
Wait a minute. Look at Bing Bong. Thank you,
dude.
Flex.
That flex, man. Justin, what do you think, man?
All right. I mean, I wrote down a few over here, but I'm gonna say Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza, mostly because of the name. Really, like a lot of people put off to it, but that's one of the bands that's got a little bit of something for everybody. I wouldn't put them necessarily on the same level as a Between the Buried and Me, but the musicality, I want to say, is in a different sort of, on a different highway, but with the same amount of quality. A lot of those, that deathcore scene or the Sumerian scene or whatever, bands doing weird fucking proggy, Meshuggah based kind of shit. Really don't credit Tony Danza as much as they should. I'm going to say Animosity from Bay Area, California, for being lumped in again with those deathcore bands, but this being like one of the sickest young death metal bands of the early 2000s, doing fucking crazy shit, man. It's some weird amalgamation of the heaviest metalcore and death metal. And they were fucking kids wearing short shorts and, dancing around at Halloween shows and stuff, and people didn't really take them seriously. And they only around for a little bit. But, man, a guitar player in that band went to go play in Decrepit Birth and shit. And, man, they're legit as fuck. And if you guys can revisit, like, Empires or Animal, like, those records are dope. And then,
Naveen from Entheos on drums.
Yes,
Animosity.
Exactly. Yeah, man.
All right. I knew I had something in there. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Justin.
Yeah. So, I mean, one band that kind of came back from a horrible tragedy that I think that should be kind of scrubbed from their record. Like, not maybe musically, but not necessarily the effort. But I think like Winds of Creation era Decapitated is one of the best fucking things in death metal. Vitek was like 18 years old on drums, and Sauron, the original vocalist, like that album kicks so much fucking ass. And then one band that I've just recently gotten into that I think puts Slayer to fucking shame is Razor. And if
that band kicks ass.
So that's my deal. Yeah, I'm giving them credit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Winds is just, that's the album for me. Even though Nihility is like it's just a monolith of an album, it overshadows Winds. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So 3 bands that I feel like didn't get any credit or didn't get enough credit. Definitely Warface. Now, in terms of credit, I'm like maybe credit I'm swapping with the idea of attention.
Yeah.
Because Warface is just a great 3-piece death metal band. That really resonated with me because I found their album Insanity of the Obsessed kind of randomly on the internet when it came out. I guess I was really getting into this stuff. I guess it was 2004. I think it came out. And it's just that fucking album. It has something. It had this like weird swing to it. Scott Ellis's drums just had a certain kind of like inhuman delivery. Crazy shit. Warface. I brought it up on an episode already, so check out that album, Insanity of the Obsessed. Next band is Nomicon. Nomicon from Finland. You know what I'm talking about, Will?
Yeah. I've heard the band. Good band. I couldn't believe you brought that up. That's awesome. Haven't heard that name in years.
Yeah. Well, I've been taking in so much music for the last year when we've been doing this, and there are things I just don't talk about on the podcast, or things I like kind of sit on. Like I'll find it when I already have something old to talk about, and then I'll put it away. So this one I kind of have been revisiting over the past few months, and I unbelievable playing in their split with Sarnath. It's called The Me. It's 1995. It's this like jazz influenced death metal that it's unlike. I can't really compare it to much. There are a lot of parallels, though. I could recommend it to fans of certain bands, but wow, the playing on this album, it's kind of like Aspid, that Russian band that was doing like super technical thrash, but more in the death metal end and jazz influence, without sounding like proggy or obnoxious. More just like kick ass. And third one is Unhuman.
Yeah, that's cool,
Unhumans, like they put out that one album, I think it was in 2012 or something. I forgot to write that down, but yeah, it's got to be because of the vocal delivery on that album, on Unhuman's Unhuman album.
2013, but yeah.
2013? Yeah. The vocals they're so strange. It's like if Weird Al had a hand in writing like Cabinet by Spawn of Possession, because it is quirky. I don't know if that really pushed people away from it, and then other like people who were into tech got into it, but overall I don't think that gets enough love. So Unhuman's Unhuman.
Well, Weird Al Tech Death collaborations.
It's
great
serious.
idea.
It just has this quirky thing about it. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I'm kind of imagining, like, I know the lead singer used to play in Cryptopsy as a guitar player, and he's doing guitar and vocals. And I know they're Canadian, and not to sound like an asshole, but I just imagine like Terrence or Phillip doing those vocals, like those kind of like Daffy Duck kind of like sounds that come out of his mouth. But they're cool, so check it out. Next question, Andrew Gonzalez. He has a question for each of us. So
Shout to
Will,
Andrew,
yeah, thank you for the dive in. Will, how have you developed your vocal style over the years? Do you look back and realize your vocal techniques have changed over the years? Do you feel you've achieved the vocal style you want, or are you still working to better it?
Well, you could get some insight into that by listening to Andrew Gonzalez's Dissonant Conjecture podcast on SoundCloud, where him and his boys interviewed me for like 5 hours.
Good dude. I always see them at Vitus.
Yeah, good kids, man. Him and the other Andrew and Axel, good guys. So look, I developed it. The first thing was when I was in like the noise core stuff with Adam, and I guess I was trying to just sing like maybe like the guy from Impetigo or something, like just kind of like the guttural growling, and or like Bill Steer from Carcass, and then a year or two later, when I heard Demolich and Auntie Bowman, and we started the band Biolich, I was just trying to do an Auntie Bowman impression for the life of me for years, with horrible breath control and rhythm and tone, corny lyrics and everything. Not to say I was anything like Demolich at all, but that's what I was going for. And I said a little while ago when I was talking about the Afterbirth thing, it was all about Matty Way, Matt Duncan from Afterbirth, R.I.P., and Auntie Bowman. And I just tried to imitate those guys. And then over the years, I tried to incorporate screaming and more barking style, throaty vocals, more because when we had Buckshot Facelift in 2004, we started. I started really experimenting with those type of vocals and the more loud, aggressive vocal styles. And with artificial brain. I started trying to incorporate some of that stuff, and I'm not going to lie, the other artificial brain guys could tell you I struggled with some of those louder vocal styles in the studio over the years, and I feel like Infrared Horizon was the first album where I could really nail certain parts the way I wanted to, in terms of those styles, anyway, I like on the first or second take. And something that kind of late in the game has really helped me a lot and changed me as a vocalist was filling in for Pyrexia on tour, on the Bloodletting North American tour last year. With Internal Bleeding and Arsis and Decrepit Birth. Bill injured himself, but they were the headliner and all that. Filling in for Pyrexia and kind of. Jim Beach, the singer of Pyrexia, kind of like showing me what he was doing. I learned a lot from that experience, big time. And I'll never be satisfied with my own vocals. I'm always trying to top myself. I want to have more voices. I want to have more control over what I do. Now I'm in this thing where, for the last few things I've recorded with different bands, the lyrics sometimes take place in the same universe, I guess, so to speak, like stories that kind of there's references to one another. So I'm trying to improve myself as a lyricist and a storyteller. You always got to try to improve. I'll never be happy. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah,
Cool,
that's what it is. Doing art, always get better. All right. Now I'll be talking to myself. This is a question for Tom. Being involved in the wrestling world musically at one point in time, do you think you'll ever work again in the wrestling business? Or is that an achievement or something you did in life that you leave in the past? Yeah, well, I mean, like, it was a job, and I would do it again if I was offered more money. I honestly, to be totally transparent, I don't have a big attachment to wrestling. I enjoy it sometimes, but I liked making music, so even if it's not the music I'm listening to, I actually wholeheartedly believe that creating music that you're not into is a great musical practice. So yeah, I mean, totally. And I mean, not to say I didn't like some of the like some of the work I did was cool. I liked it, but I wrote songs for like Alexa Bliss and shit like that, like dubstep shit.
She's so hot.
And yeah, she's hot as fuck. And I had that going for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I get an offer, why not? Like I would love to work with AEW, even if it was just like one-off contracts. So yes, I would do that.
I had a really fun time living vicariously through you, Tom, when you had that job, because I'd call Tom up, be like, yo, fucking Prince Devitt just got signed from New Japan. Like, you better get his entrance music because that's a sexy boy and he's gonna make a lot of money. Like, make sure because those royalties are gonna be crazy. Make sure you get that Prince Devitt song.
Oh yeah.
And then what happened?
Sold.
Got that Finn Balor track, man. That plays all the time.
Yeah, and that's an awesome thing. Just I made that shit. I've charted iTunes a lot more than a lot of the bands we've talked to, and that just was a circumstantial thing. Obviously, I can't toot my own horn because Finn Balor and Enzo Amore, they sold the song, but just as a technical, it's kind of funny. So anyway, yeah, why not? That
was my favorite job you ever had, Tom.
Right. So moving along, though, Justin, question for you.
Oh God.
Are there any opportunities in the metal world that you passed on and wish you hadn't?
Yeah, I can only think of one. When I was playing in a band with Tom called Ultrageist, and we were offered after a good amount of touring and our manager, God bless his soul, Christian McKnight, putting us on some big local shows and getting us down to South by Southwest, putting us on Bamboozle or whatever. We showed ourselves off a little bit to be offered some significant record contracts by three, I guess, of the top boys in the business that day. And that kind of was the end of the band. That was the beginning of the end of it, the offering of those contracts. And what I feel the opportunity that I passed up on was not focusing on the art enough and letting this like fantasy of being a signed band, wanting to have a record in stores, get all the publicity, all the press, kind of get in the way of the art that we were doing in the band, writing music with my best friends. You know what I mean? So if I could go back, and I would definitely do it different, and not hold those pieces of paper with numbers on them, or not put those on such a pedestal to where I kind of forgot why I was writing music, why I was playing, why I was, sleeping on the dashboard of the van, in the first place. So it's about like keeping that perspective. And listen, man, I would have ended up owing a lot of money to a lot of people right now at this point if I had signed those pieces of paper, because I was a kid and just gung-ho about it. So yeah, the opportunity I passed up was focus on your craft, and don't let any of the other bullshit like infect you and get inside of it. Just make sure your fucking riffs are good, man. Make sure you're good with your friends, and make sure your friends are also writing good riffs that make your riffs sound better. If that
Work
makes
on
sense.
your riffs.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I just want to put a quick aside, like the band we were in, Ultrageist, it was an experimental band. I don't think a lot of our listeners would be into it, but I think a lot of the guitarists who listen to this show, this show would be really into it. I think a lot of the instrumental people who play instruments would be in, because we had a great drummer. We did work on our riffs like a motherfucker. We tried to bring Dying Fetus style riffs into like a Mars Volta-esque environment. So there was heavy shit in there, and I'm proud of that. Like, but I'll be totally candid. I don't think that it's for this show.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And Tom, you know it, man. Once like certain voices started getting into our heads, man, we were getting gassed up. It was like, why do we have this programming in our fucking songs? Why are we what's going on here? Like, this isn't why we started doing this. This isn't.
Yeah, we liked recreating riffs, like, writing in the style of Dying Fetus or Decrepit Birth or Deeds of Flesh. Like, that was our thing, and then incorporating it into that.
Yeah, forcing our jazz friends to reckon with these fucking riffs and figure it out, and then it would become this experimental fusion-y death metal-y kind of thing.
Yeah, so just to clear that up, like we have always been extremely influenced by death metal, even while being in bands that were not death metal.
Yeah, it's super fun. I also wish I just played more, man. That's it. Yeah.
All right, wait. Let's move along here, because I think we covered that base. And then there's a really important question here. This one's hot dispute. This is from David Gladding.
Oh God,
who is taller?
Shout out to Dave, one of my oldest friends in the Long Island death metal scene, and
Will,
his brother Trevor.
Yeah, leave this one to Will.
Yeah, Will. Who's taller?
It's got to be one of you guys, right?
Yeah, but you have to tell us, because then we're going to start fighting. So you have to pick.
I feel like it might be Justin.
All right, fair game.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It's close. It's very close, All
right.
Right?
Good.
Yeah. How tall was it say on your license?
It says 6'4" on the license.
What about you, Tom?
6'3", but I didn't check. So
6'2" on my license.
There you go.
Good. So it's in like ascending order. That's good. All right.
Yeah, we're all big dudes. We're all tall. We all appreciate the sky. All right, Will.
Tom.
Another one.
Okay.
No.
Let me just say this one thing real quick, because the reason why I kept my height is because all throughout high school I wore Tom's hand-me-down skate shoes, because I couldn't afford shoes, and fuck if I was gonna get new shoes from my parents or anything like that. So the reason why I kept this great posture is because Tom was breaking in those fucking iPads for me, and I'd put them on after. I'd be able to stand up straight. So if I got an inch on you, man, you got 2 inches on me, like in heart. So,
wow. Hey, well. All right.
That's friendship.
All right, and also from David Gladding, what's your favorite hot stove demo, and why is it murder?
That's him flexing. It's like on the whole podcast. Have you guys ever heard of Hot Stove, the death metal band?
Yeah, no, I actually haven't.
Dave Gladding just dropped that Easter egg on us and the listeners, and I'm gonna leave it alone. I remember the band Hot Stove, good band, and if you could even find that, that's a good Easter egg for any of the listeners or viewers now, man. The Hot Stove murder demo. That was, I think I had one song on an old compilation many years ago, man. I did not own the demo. I'm not that flexible. So Hot Stove, and there was a band called Malaria that had one song on a comp back in the day, and I feel like it might have had members of Anal Blast. Allegedly, possibly could have been Joey Jordison. Malaria. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck, internet. Shoot me a link.
Wait and bleed for that answer right there.
Hell yeah. All right. So now we have, you know what? I'm going to cut off. Right now I've been doing all the Facebook questions.
Yeah.
So I want to jump to some of the other platforms just to give a, I don't think we're going to get to all of them. So I want to jump around.
Do a part two sometime, you know?
Part two.
We have to do a part two because I feel like they're just going to keep coming in. So the next platform, Patreon. Let's do that. These are our lovelies. These people are the best. Come on.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So, Andy Sung, I believe that's how you say his name, Sung. He was like, I think he was our first Patreon. So
yeah, he's another supporter, man. He's another brother, man. What's up, Andy?
Dude,
yeah, he also brought that band Torn Asunder to my attention, which was a great find. So thank you. Shout out to Andy. So he's got two questions.
He's out here.
So if you could interview a musician that is no longer with us, who would it be?
Thought of that. And I got it. I know it's like I'm going to be brief. I have an obvious answer and I have a not so obvious answer, and they kind of correlate in a way. The obvious answer is Chuck Schuldiner from Death, R.I.P. obviously, and then I could extend that to Sean Reinert, R.I.P. who recently passed away, and a whole bunch of other people. But the not so obvious one would be Killjoy of Necrophagia, who passed away in 2018. Seasons of the Dead by Necrophagia, recorded in '86, came out in '87, and Necrophagia gets left out of the possessed death discussion. The original death metal bands or whatever. Not that it's an argument or a debate. It's just that first generation death metal, Necrophagia and Killjoy. It would have been great to interview him and get his perspective on things. So that's my answer.
Cool.
Yeah, I second on Chuck, and then the other musician I would love to talk to, probably for sensational reasons, would be G.G. Allen.
Wow.
Not really death metal, but like the things that would come out of just a simple conversation. Probably a good one.
I had two of that. I think it'd be really interesting to pick Stevie Ray Vaughan's brain.
Wow.
Just for a bit. Yeah. See, dude, tell me. And Dime, man, who wouldn't want to sit down for an hour with Dimebag Darrell, on this sports especially.
Yeah.
What a happy dude. I just want to talk about Kiss with him,
Just only talk about Kiss for an hour. All members of which are alive.
And that band that he was in also, that'd be sick.
This is for Dimebag Darrell.
Yeah, let's do a drink.
R.I.P. to all the metal brothers and sisters we've lost over the years.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, we have so many living ones to get through. It's already so cool that we do this already. So to think about that.
Long lists. Yeah,
yes, sir. List. Yes, sir.
All right, and then another one from Andy is Dream Tour Package. What do you got, guys?
All right, I'll go. Check it out. The year is 1992. Opening up the show. It's going to be, I'll go top down. 1992, they're 1 year touring on this record. They're going to do another loop on it. It's Pantera touring on Vulgar.
Wow.
Direct support, you got Faith No More touring on brand new Angel Dust that just came out. And third slot, you got Death touring on Human. This proggy, funky, fucking beat down, weird metal tour would just, that's my perfect show. And I'm going to put it around 2 because I wrote 2 down. This tour would in fact create a second baby boom. This would wherever they went, there would be this vast impregnation around the world. This is Prince, Seal, and Sade on tour.
Wow.
Asking for it.
How do I follow that? That's you just flexed on me. You imaginary flexed on me. I've answered this question a few times for Artificial Brain in interviews we've done, so I want to answer it for Buckshot Facelift. Buckshot Facelift Dream Tour package would be supporting Bloodlet and Extreme Conditions era Brutal Truth. If we're going to be playing fantasy football here, and that would be it. Three sets, and we're out every night, man. You know, and we would obviously be opening up for that cavalcade of insanity, man. So that's to be brief and get through these questions. That would be my dream tour package for Buckshot Facelift. Would be to open up for Bloodlet and then Brutal Truth from the classic era, man.
Nice. In no particular order as to who's opening or whatever, because this is just 4 bands that I would love to see together with no real coherent structure, but things I haven't seen, I want. 2 I've seen and 2 I haven't. And the 2 I've seen always put on a good show, so it would be Cephalic Carnage with Malignancy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And, And the 2 I haven't seen on this tour package would be Frightmare and Wormed.
Wow. Okay.
Dude, love to see Wormed.
Yeah.
Weird package, but that's just kind of shit that I go to in my head. Like when I don't know what to put on, I put on one of those bands.
Mm-hmm. Guys, brief flex. Milwaukee Metal Fest 2000. I did see Cephalic Carnage and Malignancy. That's it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, man.
I had to do it to you. I had to.
Also, that kind of contextualized what I expect out of metal. Like I don't really like arena shows or even like places the size of Irving Plaza. Like I just like, I like
Small
500 person venues and fucking sick bands that I can see up close. That's what I'm into.
Thank you.
Still seeing Cephalic Carnage at the old Knitting Factory downtown. That was one of the best things.
Yeah, I love the Knitting Factory in Manhattan. That was great.
That was so fun.
Yeah, I've seen Cephalic I think 3 times, and they just destroy every time. So that's I like if I could, I would just make them busy as fuck. Get them a sick guarantee, but I'm not God, so whatever. All right, Kent McCauley's got a question.
Kent, longtime supporter and listener.
Yes, good dude. All right. What's one album from a band or artist you otherwise don't really care for that you actually dig? You might not even be able to defend it in any coherent way. You just, like. For example, I wouldn't call myself a Fit for an Autopsy fan, and I certainly don't like more than a couple deathcore bands, but I can't deny Absolute Hope, Absolute Hell, some love. That said, I can't articulate what makes this record different than the others of its ilk, or different from Fit for an Autopsy albums. When people tell me it sucks, I don't even get up in arms. It might actually suck. I don't know. So this one actually took me a while to think of. This was the one that I sat on for a while because I don't really have that practice in me. Like if I don't like a band, like who's gonna sit there and I don't know. Like I guess I'm ignorant in some ways. I'll just go first. Devin Townsend in general. He's like he's got great songs, especially with Strapping Young Lad that I really like. But and I respect that guy a lot. I respect his work ethic. I respect his voice. I think he's got a great thing going. But I can't get through a whole catalog. But Strapping Young Lad's self-title is a really good album to me. I would say that's the one I could really sink my teeth into. Particularly the song Aftermath. It's kind of like smack dab right in the middle. I think Gene Hoglan's playing drums on it, so it's a pretty great album.
Okay. Gene Hoglan, you can't go wrong. I mean,
no, I can't complain at all. For me, I'm gonna be a little controversial right here, and I'm gonna go with. It's hard to say. it's the first Amur release. The Amur like demo EP or whatever that is, it's questionable what it's called or what it's out there, but it's got these 2 tracks on it that I'll still go back and listen to if I'm if I'm fucking bored, because it's far removed from what you hate about them. It still has a little bit about what you hate about them, which is why I kind of love it. But the tracks "Fist Fight with Dick Tracy" and "Should Have Called Miss Cleo." You could have also called for better names for those songs, but something about it gives me this like nostalgic mid 2000s metalcore vibe. They were coming up and playing while I just first started playing shows and see them all around. So, whenever I'm thinking to myself, I just want to see a spin kick real quick, like I'll put one of these on. But my better answer is Justin Timberlake's "The 2020 Experience." So this album came out, and I think the single was "Suit and Tie" or whatever, and I'm like, all right, I could be on my suit and tie. Like this is fine. But it wasn't until I saw like when he started playing live with that, and he had his backing band, the Tennessee Kids, playing. And they started improvising over all this shit, man. And it's like gospel drums, all the fuck on it. And then like, brother's got a good voice, right? So like, he's doing his damn thing. And I was like, yo, this kind of like a little bit heavy, just in like a little bit of a, like a Justin Timberlake kind of second, a bit of a heavy. Then like I went back and I listened to the album, like picturing like these kids, like this church band just fucking having at it. And that maybe just like, like it a little bit more. My only drawback is it plays like some sort of space prog death metal band kind of thing, because these songs are 7-8 minutes long, and that's just a little bit too long. But yeah, I don't really care for the Justin Timberlake catalog, nor do I care for the Amur catalog. But those are 2 little bright spots for me.
Ah, interesting.
If you want really sick gospel music, I would have to recommend James Cleveland and a variety of releases on the Savoy Records label from the late 60s and 70s.
Oh, yeah. Thanks
Just
for that,
gonna flex
man.
on you a little bit, man. Justin Timberlake on the Heavy Hole Podcast. Listen, unlike you guys, I'm not going to try to defend it because my choice really is undefendable. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, guys, I just happen to be so open-minded that I like Justin Timberlake. Get out of here with all that. My choice really is an undefendable album that's objectively bad. All right, I'm not a literary genius like you guys. All
right, fair enough.
I'm a big fan of Queensryche, as everyone knows, and fans of Queensryche have like different tiers of dedication to the band. A lot of people drop off. Yeah. A lot of people drop off after Operation Mindcrime, which is fair enough. Then you have Empire. People say it's too pop or whatever. Then you have people that stay with them through Empire. It's a solid album, good songwriting, whatever. And then you have people that drop off, before Promised Land, which is kind of like their contemporary adult hard rock Pink Floyd phase. But Promised Land, still some solid jams on there, some interesting ideas. I'm of the Queensryche ilk that stays with them through the album Here and the Now Frontier, which was the last album with the guy's name escapes me now, man. The guitarist, man. Hold on, I got flex. We can cut this down. This is important.
This is video, Will. We're not cutting shit, man. Welcome to YouTube.
Well, good thing I alphabetized my record collection because it was the last one, I believe, with Chris DeGarmo, the guitarist, Here in the Now Frontier, and it was kind of like their real venture into just like dad rock. Like you could, I don't know for certain, but it sounds like probably maybe the first album where there was a lot of maybe hired songwriters or producers. I don't know what happened. Here in the Now Frontier, I'm not even going to try to defend it. There's some real silly shit going on, but nostalgically, I just enjoy the album. I saw them on the tour with my cousin back in the day, and it is what it is, man. I follow Queensryche to that point. Q2K I don't do. If you follow Queensryche through Q2K, I give you credit, man. And then there's a lot of spotty shit, and I'm down with the toddlatory era, the new stuff. It's all good with me. But yeah, I follow them through Here and the Now Frontier, which you should listen to sometime, both of you guys.
I will
Man.
take your word on this.
They get
So
John
that's that.
Mellencamp writing songs or something like that.
But I do have that jam right there, man. Bing bong.
Nice. We're gonna get copyright strike for that. Just you showing it.
Blur it out.
All right.
Yeah, we'll put the blur on it.
All right.
We'll make
Let's
it that
move
new
along here.
Reeking
Got
Aura record you're holding up.
All right. So next question from Patreon is from Lord Camo Pants the Third. Are there shared albums that would be on each of your top 10, top 20 favorite metal albums?
All right.
Probably, yeah.
Venn diagram, right? We talked about this before. There is a Venn diagram where all three of us link up on 3 albums, right?
Yeah, but we don't have a month to talk about it. So this is just like
Yeah, we have to do with the little time we have. Will, so why don't you sum this up because we did do this conversation.
And I'm gonna get a beer.
I have the list. We talked about it. Justin's he's gonna be getting his beer still because it was Human by Death, None So Vile by Cryptopsy, and Effigy of the Forgotten by Suffocation were 3 albums we could all agree on would be in all of our like top 20 all time whatever favorite albums. Oh, that was perfect timing, Justin.
Yeah, he has no idea what you said.
Perfect timing.
But yeah, like all those albums, I feel like they're kind of staples within people who are just into death metal in general. Like you can't fuck with any of those albums. You know, you could
the heart of the show right there. You know.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Lord Camo Pants has more questions, so we'll get right into them.
Shoot.
A favorite album you believe is fairly obscure, even for the fans of that particular genre it falls in.
Okay. I'm not. It's not an album, but it's a band because I'm going really obscure with this one. I don't believe I've talked about much about Paroxysm, which is Paroxysm. Paroxysm from Finland, who were active in the early 90s. They cut a series of demos, which I don't believe were ever re-released on any format. I could be wrong, but you got to look them up. You can find a lot of their stuff on YouTube and things like that. I downloaded it years ago, allegedly. And their first demo starts off more in the traditional death metal sense, but everything they did is really progressive and interesting and technical. And it's a band that so much deserves a proper re-release of all their material. Man, Paroxysm from Finland is my obscure pick right there.
Nice,
sweet. Yeah, I don't have one. I can't go obscure enough to justify this. Yeah, I could say like, yo, you ever heard of fucking Plank Wood Biscuits Dovetail? You ever heard? They haven't come out. It's not out yet. You should hear it. Yeah,
it's a simple but hard question because like everything we talk about is fairly like obscure in one way or another. Like the last question, I was talking about Cryptopsy, Death, and Suffocation. That's obscure to the average person.
Yeah. So,
but I did write down 2, and the reason I wrote down 2 is because one I talked about on the show and one I didn't. So the one I talked about on the show was this band Shabty from Portland, Maine, and their album Trembling and Shorn, blackened death metal. Just one of the coolest albums I've heard in a while. I went to go see them. They opened up with for Churchburn at St. Vitus, and I was really, really into it, and I want that band to get a lot more attention because the songwriting is fantastic. The one I haven't talked about on the show is Oil Tanker. Oil Tanker, I'm not sure if they're still active, but their LP Shadow of Greed came out in 2012. It's a super crusty D-beat, on the verge of grindcore, but I wouldn't call it grindcore. Punk album that man, it's solid. I saw this question and I thought of it. That band came to mind. I bought the LP because I've had it illegally for a while, allegedly, but I have the LP in the mail now. So. Yeah, because I love that band, Oil Tanker. That's all I
yeah.
got.
I mean, this band might not be obscure, but I think everybody should listen to a band called Dragged into Sunlight. Just super disgusting. End of the world, grindy death. That's all I gotta say about it.
Lord Camo Pants asked 3 questions, but for the sake of time, we're going to come back to the third one.
Also, listen to Rat if you haven't before. I'd say. Out of the Cellar. Whew. Brilliant.
Okay. Out of the Cellar. You can't fuck that up. All right. We'll come back to Lord Camo Pants' third question on the next time we do this.
Mm-hmm.
Next question from Patreon, and the last one for now. G Chow. I don't know.
Gerald.
GCH.
Gerald over there in the Gerald over there in the UK. I know everybody. I know everybody.
Thank you.
What's up, Gerald? What's up,
Thank
Big Gerald?
Thank
I
you,
know your
Bill.
tour got. I know your tour got canceled. Keep your head up, kid. All right. I know everybody. I got you, kid. All right. Go ahead. What do you ask?
Yo, Will's the segue and the defibrillator, but he's just saving it. He's saving this right now.
All in one. You guys seem to have a never-ending well of bands to check out. Before the podcast, I assume lots of people mail in their favorite bands and etc.
Yeah, safe to assume.
In what ways do you guys find new cool bands? I usually get recommendations from friends, listen to podcasts, like this one, for example, or follow certain musicians. I usually follow the New York metal scene, like whatever Colin Marston gets up to, and the grind scene on Bandcamp. But sometimes I get a bit lost in finding new stuff.
Well, speaking for myself, a lot of the bands I recommend on the podcast, I'm in a couple of different Facebook groups for death metal, and I don't have like really a personal Facebook where I'm seeing everybody's politics and pictures of their kid's birthday party and everything else. I just have like a Facebook where I follow a few groups, and I use it really to promote my bands in the podcast. So all I really see are a few of these groups where people post bands all the time. And then on YouTube, my algorithm is always I'll go. I mean, this day and age, new death metal 2020, and you got everything that just came out this month. You know what I mean? And a lot of them got a Bandcamp link right there. It just couldn't be easier nowadays. But how I funnel that through,
Right.
I just I take time. I listen to a lot of stuff. And sometimes you can just you got to hone in on a certain style or a certain corner of death metal or whatever, underground metal, whatever you're into, and you just look at like who's playing shows with who, and I don't know, man, it's tough nowadays because like I said, we're at this saturation point. A lot of people like to follow labels. I think that explains why certain labels, like we talked to Scott McGrath from Maggot Stomp Records on a recent episode, and in this day and age where there's so much going on, if you can find a label and you like, 4 out of 5 of their bands, you're going to keep checking out that label. You're going to keep seeing what's going on. I check out what's coming out on Dark Descent for years now. Since I think the first thing I ever bought on Dark Descent was the Time Ghoul discography in 2012, Relevant Flex. You'll know why soon. And ever since then, I've been checking for Dark Descent. You know what I mean? And look now, the Dark, the Blood Incantation is one of the biggest bands in the game, like them or hate them or whatever, but that, you kind of ahead of the curve with that. And another thing is check out the tour packages, get to the shows on time. Don't just, if there's 4 or 5 bands playing on a tour package opening for Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel, Decrepit Birth, whoever, Cattle Decapitation, get to the show early, check out the opening acts and check out the opening bands. There's a lot of bands. I'm lucky because I got to go on tours with my bands and play a lot of shows with my bands, and I try to make a point of checking out the opening bands, especially when I'm on the road in some place I'm not familiar with, far from home, and there's like 3 or 4 local bands opening up. I want to see what they're all about, and there's a lot of bands that I found out about that way from wherever, Detroit, Boston, Philly, and I just see a band opening up for us one night, or whatever it is. So you just got to have your ear to the ground in a way, man, but I guess don't just focus on the big bands and what labels are pushing at you. Even keep it local. Try to, nowadays it's tough. Obviously, everyone's staying indoors. But a couple of months ago, I would have said go to your local shows. So it's tough. But your local bands that you do know and your bands that you're friends with, check out who they're sharing and supporting on social media. It's easy nowadays. That's keep it brief.
One more thing I want to add on that. Doing this podcast in general, we know we have to bring shit to the table.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
have a deadline. That is the incentive to go on Bandcamp or to like scroll to
Scroll
the
Reddit or
bottom
some shit.
part of YouTube or whatever to just find this stuff. So a lot of that is because we give ourselves deadlines. When you're listening to stuff casually, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's just what you like. You know, when you're done with it. But we're
Yeah.
trying to bring new stuff out all the time and really challenging ourselves to do so. So yeah,
It's tough sometimes to keep up, you know.
Yeah, it's hard, but part of why we know so much is because we've had to know so much, and we're just fans. We love this music. That's it. Like, what else? we just have a format.
that's
You
how
know,
I
a
found
lot of
my
stuff. So,
current and future favorite band, Chat Pile from Oklahoma. It was the best. Just
yeah,
just
I found so much
scraping
good shit.
Bandcamp. Yeah.
My life is infinitely better from doing this podcast musically, and so I don't know if that helps. Just a little insight into why the turnaround is so quick. All right, let's move along. Twitter questions. We got 4 of those, and then we'll call it a day. Is that
Okay.
sound right?
Sound good, yeah.
My dude Phil from Phil's Breakfast Metal. Phil is a cool dude. I've talked to him a bunch, and he's got some questions for thinking about. So here we go. As fans of more brutal end of death metal, do you ever come across a band whose lyrics or imagery go too far for you, putting you off to the music you otherwise enjoy?
All the time. All the time, every day.
Yeah.
I don't like the misogyny stuff. I don't like anything about killing babies or kids.
Yeah,
It's
same.
been done. I could go back and revisit old Cannibal Corpse from back in the day, any day of the week. But it's been done to death, man. A lot of these slam bands, that's why I said the last question. I said I follow these groups on Facebook. Do you know how many bands I got to scroll through where it's like, you guys know, man, just like the same redundant, some like girl getting butchered on a table or whatever the hell, man.
Always
I guess
on a
not that
table.
that's it's not that it's too much. It's just like, okay, shock value. Whoa, you guys did it. You took it there. You know what I mean? Like, it's been done to death. I mean, I don't know. And go too far. Yeah, the misogynistic thing, the rape thing. I don't know, man. I'm not going to sit here and try to censor anybody. I'm not going to tell you guys you shouldn't listen to anybody, whatever. But it's not for me, man. And as I get older, the older I get, and with this saturation point that heavy metal and extreme metal has reached, you can pick to listen to whatever you want, and you can do what you want, man. It is what it is. So yeah, and the older I get, and the more exposed to life I get, I don't necessarily want to go there with what music I listen to in my leisure time, and that'll definitely affect whether I listen to certain bands, no matter how great and interesting and technical or progressive or whatever their music is. If you're singing about raping somebody, I'm probably just gonna go on to like the next 10 bands and check them out. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the lyrics specifically, I don't really even engage on that end because I don't know, I like the music, and I do consider the vocalist extremely important, but I think it's like an instrument to me. I like the performance of it. I don't understand what they're doing. I don't really get. I don't go out of my way to read lyrics a lot of times. If I understand them, that's great. That's cool. But yeah, like the imagery shit. Got to second what Will says.
Yeah, I'm with you completely, man. The only thing I would add is that I started getting to this band, the Beautiful Ones, this hardcore band. It's fine, but the lyrics are kind of very emotional about a breakup. And then when I had a breakup, I was like, this is vulgar. I was like, this is too much. I was like, I'd rather listen to some squashing feet instead of this shit. So it goes all around. But Will, in general, I agree with you, man. It's just enough with like the overt gore for the sake of, it's losing its value.
Right. Well,
It could be done in different ways, in interesting ways. The gore thing could be done in new ways, but there's a lot of people just going back to the same blueprint. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right. Phil's next question is kind of a follow-up to that, so I think it just might be good to interject now. Do you think an album cover has any bearing on the overall quality of the album?
So I would say no to if an album cover's bad and the record's good, that's still a good record. But if an album cover is good and the record is good, that's a fucking great record. You know,
Yeah.
it amplifies what's going on, 100%.
Yeah.
I would say
big into the design.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I would say as a fan, just speaking from the heart, man. If I don't like an album cover, it's going to take a lot for me to really like that album. And maybe that's kind of it's my old school nostalgic, I'm unapologetic, about it mentality. When it comes to what I'm going to, now when it comes to what bands I'll play shows with, what bands I'll support, you do your thing, man. It's all good. But when it comes to what I want to listen to in my spare time and what I'm going to spend my money on with merch, absolutely, the album art affects me a lot. Now, it could be a shitty album with a great, cover. I'm not going to just buy it for that reason. But you gotta. If it's a really bad sloppy album cover, it's going to be really tough for me to like a good album sometimes because I'm just going to have that in my head, and it's like it's like, oh, you got a smudge on your shirt, you know what I mean? There's it's not right, there's something that's not right. And I own some I'm not going to pull those vinyls out and put the bands on blast, but I own a few albums that I don't like the covers of, but yeah, it affects it a lot for me. And there's many times where I bought an album just for the album art. I will show you one of those. Hold on. I got it right here. And I've talked about it on the podcast before. It's
I love when you do that and it works out, where you buy something just for the album art and it ends up being like one of your favorites, and it's good.
Destruction.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Look.
Hell yeah.
Can you guys see that?
Yeah, bud.
Yeah, man. Destruction, released from Agony. I bought this. Obviously, I knew the name Destruction, but I had never really given Destruction as much time as I owed them when I bought this album several years ago. And it's one of my favorite albums of all time, man. And it lives up to that. Look, come on, man. That's a beautiful thing right there, man. So, short, to keep it brief, yes, it matters.
Like, I feel like when, in the 2000s when MP3 players started becoming a thing and they weren't, and it wasn't, the technology wasn't there to display the album cover, like some people started slacking, when, that was kind of the crux when vinyl wasn't as hot, it's just CDs and MP3s and this kind of thing. But now there's no excuse. Everything is visual. And this kind of ties back to this visual thing I was bringing up before. There's no excuse, and you know somebody that's a designer, somebody that takes pictures. Just find what looks fucking good. Find what you would buy, and put it out there. There's no reason to clean your fucking game up. Everybody, clean your shit up.
Yeah, man.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Take a brand shower, if you will.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up for the questions for this YouTube video / bonus episode. Thanks everyone.
Yep. That's it, man. We gotta call it.
Yeah, we got to roll into our interview. Thank you everyone who listens. Thank you all the Patreon folks who have been helping out so much. We really appreciate it. A lot of folks signing up recently, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So that means a lot. Thanks for listening to Heavy Coal.
Yeah, look, here's my wallet, tough guy. You see the moth fly out?
We'll put it in post.
Check this out.
Oh,
it's backwards. Damn it. I'll flip it in post.
Good. All right, see you later.
Bye.
Peace.